For the second time in 5 years' time, the second spot on the podium of the Lgct Grand Prix of Madrid is shared by two riders on the very same time. It happened already in 2018 when Nicola Philippaerts and Eduardo Aznar posted the same time. It was again the case now in 2022. But the winner of the Grand Prix was well clear of the field, a field with 10 men and women in the jump-off, a completely different scenario than what we had in 2021. But before we pick that very delicate jump-off apart, let's have a look at the very delicate fence in the course of Santiago Varela. Welcome to a new episode of the Lgct Grand Prix analysis. Surely, when Santi Varela, the course designer at the Club Campo de Villa in Madrid, started drawing up his Grand Prix course for this 2022 Grand Prix, the scenario of 2021 must have been in the back of his mind. Because in that Grand Prix 1 year ago, he only had two clears. It was the Grand Prix that gave the win to Olivier Robert, his first ever Lgct Grand Prix win. He only had two clears. He wanted to have a different outcome for this Grand Prix, and he got a different outcome. He had a fair course with lots of four-faulters and only a few retirees, a good spread with faults over all fences, but for some reason, one fence specifically stood out.
Here's Bertram Allen, and he has the plank down. It's the plank for Bertram Allen. Now do the final fence. Here comes Marley Bayer Johnson. H&M Indiana has the last fence down as well. Why does that last fence drop so often? Here comes Kobe with Weishaupt. He rides up to the plank and has it down. Last fence down again. It is fence 13 again. Can you believe it? 79 seconds of time allowed for Barbless. Careful for the final fence. He has it down again and again and again. Unbelievable.
Now, in every Grand Prix, one fence stands out, but here it was the final fence, and so we're going to have a closer look at that final fence at the end of his course. We pick up the 3D animation, and if you look at the course that Santiago Varela had built, you see that over all the course, he actually had quite smooth turns. Let's have a look. For example, this is the turn that he made from fence 2 to fence 3. A long, smooth and wide turn. From 5 to 6 as well. From the upright, the wall to the water, the same smooth bend. From the vertical into the triple combination, the same smooth line. Everywhere he had the time, he had the room, he had the pace and the rhythm for the horses and riders to get that smooth, nice rhythm. Right up until the last fence. You come over this oxer and look at how steep this angle has to be. It's a little bit more like this, but you can clearly see that this is really a turn that kind of breaks the rhythm for the riders and for the horses. Some horses even switched off. Let's have a look at a few examples. Here is Barbless. Barbless, who has good memories about the Club Campo de Villa. In Madrid 2019, on this very same horse, on Longines, he produced his best ever Lgct Grand Prix result, finishing third on the podium in 2019. Here, after the triple combination, Longines gets already a little bit distracted, and Bless, with that tight turn out of the corner, sees that he needs to add a stride, and with adding the stride slightly up the hill, the horse loses the power, loses the momentum, and has the plank down. Barbless there on Longines with an unfortunate fault. But it was not unfortunate if it happens more than once. So let's have a look, for example, at Bertram Allen. It was his first appearance this season on the Longines Global Champions Tour. The Irishman on his very successful Pacino Amiro, the horse that jumped to great 5-star results over the winter out in Wellington. Still clear right up until the final fence, and also Bertram Allen reduces the pace, adds a stride coming out of the turn, and he helps him. He gets a little bit long to that final fence, tries to help him with the hand to lift him over the plank, but as he lifts him, it is the shoulder that comes down as well as the plank there at fence 13. That was Bertram Allen with Pacino Amiro. Here once more, the other approach, other angle for that fault of Bertram Allen and Pacino Amiro. Young gun and a rider with the potential to challenge Ludger Beerbaum in this Grand Prix is Gilles Thomas. He sat just behind Ludger Beerbaum. And if Gilles Thomas made it onto the podium, he could overtake Ludger Beerbaum for the championship lead. That would be a career first for the young Belgian who was third out in Miami. Now on Aretino, And Thomas right there knows that he's on the tail of Ludger Beerbaum, but has the final fence down, just like it happened to Bless and to Bertram Allen. Here he comes out of the turn, and again you see that he reduces the pace, adds the stride, up the hill, loses the momentum, loses the power and the scope on the engine, and has the plank down as well. Pure agony for Gilles Thomas. Ludger Beerbaum at that point saved from losing his leading position on the championship to Gilles Thomas. Last example, before we dive into the jump-offs, is the example of Philipp Weishaupt. Very late to go in the first round. Weishaupt, his first appearance on the Longines Global Champions Tour this season. On Kobe Weishaupt, in the past already on Leoville, a Grand Prix winner on grass. That was in Estoril. And if we look at this from a different angle, you'll see that Kobe actually doesn't look at first at the final fence. Here he comes out of the turn, look at the face of Kobe, and Weishaupt knows that Kobe isn't focused on that final fence, has to push to close the distance as he comes here out of the turn, and Kobe switches back right at that point where Weishaupt has got to give leg to close the stride, to get to the fitting point of takeoff. And as he switches back in the lead with the back end, it is where Weishaupt finds himself too long, gets the flat jump to the plank and has it down. So mainly the break of rhythm in that final turn, but also the uphill stride and the horses that switch off, that thing that maybe their Grand Prix run is already finished, caused that plank to fall down so often. But in the end, there were 10 combinations that went through to the jump-off, and it's about time that we have a very close look at that jump-off because it is very